Hello. So my name is Phillip Zapkin. I am an assistant teaching professor of English at Penn State University, working at the University Park campus. I'm going to start this video with a disclaimer that nothing that I say in this video reflects the positions of Penn State University. And the reason I start with that disclaimer is because if I do any sort of public statements, social media, posts, whatever it is, that are presented as though they are speaking on behalf of Penn State, the university can cancel my employment at any time. So, that's really the thing that I want to talk to you about in this video, is the transition in academic labor that we've seen really since the 1990s. We have a sort of post-Fordist shift in academia. And the reason for me that that's really significant is not because it's an anomaly in terms of the overall US labor market, but because there's a popular perception of academia and how academic labor works that's really undercut by the reality of the academic labor market. So I want to start by sort of explaining what I mean by post-Fordist. So post-Fordism is an idea about the labor market and the way that jobs are organized. So prior to really the 1970s, when neoliberalism started to take off as the main economic theory, political economic theory, you had Fordist industry. This was the situation where you could have a single breadwinner in a house. You could stay at the same company for the duration of your working life. You could be sure that you had a good salary and benefits. The sort of image of the person who gets a job, say at a factory at 18, supports a wife and kids, and this is almost always imagined to be a male breadwinner in the Fordist system, buys a house, buys a car, retires from the company at 65, etc., etc. That's the Fordist system, and it basically no longer exists in the US. We're in the post-Fordist system, so that's characterized by short-term labor contracts, by as much as possible reductions in salaries. If they can pay by the hour or by the job, they would rather do that in a post-Fordist economy than provide a yearly salary. Job insecurity goes along with the short-term contract. No labor protections through unions and things like this, and often a loss or significant decrease in benefits. So you think about, for instance, Uber drivers or DoorDash drivers, short-term contract construction workers, migrant laborers who work in agriculture, things like this. Anybody who is working short-term contracts, paid by the job, no long-term stability, no benefits, things like this. The gig economy. This is what the essence of the gig economy is, a post-Fordist system, where the idea is that labor is flexible rather than secure. And so that brings up its own whole host of problems that are going to go way beyond the scope of what I want to talk about in this video. Now, the thing is, in academia, we've seen a post-Fordization of the labor market. So prior to the 1990s, where you see a really sort of dramatic shift starting, most academic laborers were tenure track or tenured faculty. So this is talking exclusively about teachers. This is not talking about other university staff, like the people who do maintenance work, secretaries and other sort of administrative people, the people who work in dining halls and things like this. That's a whole separate labor market and I don't necessarily know that much about it. But in terms of the academic market for those of us who are professors or those of us who teach, the numbers of tenured and tenure track versus contingent or adjunct faculty have largely reversed. So in, say, the 1980s, 70+% of the people who were teaching classes would be tenured or tenure-track faculty, meaning they had long-term jobs guarantees, they had employment protections, they had good salaries, they had stable benefits. They knew that they would continue to be employed year after year after year, unless something really dramatic and unexpected happened. Today, those numbers are reversed. About 30%, and this is on average looking across the US, not necessarily in any given university or any given department, but on average, about 30% of people who are teaching classes at universities are tenured or tenure track. The other 70% are contingent faculty. And contingent faculty largely fall into three different categories. There's grad students who teach in their programs to gain experience and also to save the university money. A lot of grad programs have teaching assistantships or graduate assistantships where students, usually PhDs, but also sometimes MAs and MFAs, will teach 1 to 2 courses a semester, and they get like a tuition waiver and sometimes a stipend and things like this. And that saves the university a tremendous amount of money not having to hire tenure track people to teach those classes. Then you've got a larger group of contingent faculty who are either adjuncts or full-time contingent faculty. That's what I am, is full-time contingent. So adjuncts get hired by the section. So they may make anywhere between $500 and maybe $4,000 at the absolute most to teach one course over a semester. And obviously if they teach more courses, they get more money. But they have a tremendous amount of insecurity in that job because it depends on there being enough courses that their services are needed. And so they don't have any sort of job security beyond one semester, and the wages are very, very low for the work that they're doing. Full-time contingent people tend to be slightly more secure. They tend to have a year-long contract, but sometimes multiple years. They're more likely to be on salary, but the salary is going to be a lot lower than a tenure track person. There's no guarantee that the contract, when it's up, will be renewed, so they don't have long-term job security, and they don't have as much employment protection as tenured or tenure track people. So basically, this is the academic version of the gig economy, hence the title of this video. The reason that I think this is such a significant problem in academia is that there's a popular perception about academics, both at the university level, but also at the high school, middle school, elementary school level, whatever it is, shaped by media depictions of teachers, where teachers have job security, they have decent salaries, they get summers off, etc., etc. It's babysitting and whatever it is, which does not in any sense reflect the realities of the academic labor market. And so part of the problem is that people form their opinions about the economic and employment struggles of faculty based on these misperceptions. And politicians, boards of trustees, whatever it is, build policy based on this idea that academics have stability, when in reality, most of us don't.